The Weight of Small Things. Part 2. The Unraveling. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. Marcus had been on hold with his health insurance company for 43 minutes when the call dropped. Not transferred, dropped. He called back, navigated the automated menu again. Press 1 for claims. Press 3 for prescriptions. Press 5 to question your will to live. And reached a new representative who insisted there was no record of his previous call. When he explained he'd been disconnected, she said she couldn't access the notes from the other representative without a reference number he'd never been given. So I just... Start over, Marcus asked, his voice flat. I am sorry for any inconvenience, sir. Let me ask you a few questions to verify your identity. He answered them. Date of birth, last 4 of his social, mother's maiden name, the street he grew up on, his first pet's name. Questions designed to prove he was who he said he was so he could access the insurance he'd been paying for. To get the medication he needed to treat the condition they'd already approved once before. 30 minutes later, she told him the issue had been escalated, and he'd receive a call back within 72 business hours. 72 business hours? Marcus repeated. That's 3 weeks. 72 hours, sir. 3 business days. He didn't correct her. He just hung up and stared at his phone at the 1 hour and 13 minutes he'd never get back, and felt something small and hard form in his chest. The pharmacy called the next day. Without the insurance approval, his medication would be $340. Did he want to pay out of pocket? Marcus stood in the parking lot of his office building, phone pressed to his ear, doing the math. Medication or rent deposit. Medication or car repair. Medication or food for the next 2 weeks. I'll have to call you back, he said. Sure thing. Just so you know, we can only hold it for 48 hours before we have to return it to stock. Of course they could. 'Cause why would anything just wait for him? He went back inside, sat at his desk, and opened his email. Another rejection, another automated message. We appreciate your interest, but we're moving forward with other candidates. Candidates who probably didn't spend their lunch breaks arguing with robots about account numbers and reference codes. His coworker, Brad, stopped by his cubicle with coffee and that aggressive cheerfulness that Marcus had once found endearing. Hey, man! How's the app coming? Marcus looked at him. Really looked at him. Brad, who'd mentioned once that his parents paid his rent while he figured things out. Brad, who'd never had his card declined at the grocery store. Who talked about his creative projects with the breezy confidence of someone who'd never had to choose between art and survival. It's fine, Marcus said. You should show it to my uncle. He's a venture capitalist. I could make an intro? The small heart thing in Marcus's chest grew teeth. Thanks, Brad. By Friday, Marcus had developed a new habit. He'd started talking back to the automated systems. Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us. Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. No, they haven't, Marcus said to the empty car. They're exactly the same as last week. Press 1 for account information. Press 2 for... I'm pressing 1. I'm always pressing 1. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. Please say or enter your account number. He said his account number. Clearly, slowly. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. Let's try something else. Please say your account number. Marcus closed his eyes, breathed, said the number again, this time louder, over-enunciating each digit like he was speaking to a child. I'm sorry, I'm still having trouble. Let me transfer you to a representative. That's what I wanted 15 minutes ago. His voice bounced around the car interior. A woman walking past in the parking lot glanced at him through the window. He smiled back, a tight grimace that probably looked unhinged. The hold music started, smooth jazz, endless looping smooth jazz interrupted every 45 seconds by a recording. We appreciate your patience. Your call is very important to us. If it was so important, Marcus thought, why did they make it so hard? The real break started with something absurd. A parking ticket. Marcus found it on his windshield Wednesday morning. $75 for parking in a spot that was legal when he'd parked at 5:47 p.m., but became a tow-away zone at 6 p.m. 13 minutes. The ticket was time-stamped 6:13 p.m. He stood there, ticket in hand, looking at the sign he'd somehow missed. And no parking 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday and Wednesday, not Monday through Wednesday, Monday and Wednesday. Specifically those 2 days. Why? What purpose did this serve? What civic planning genius had decided that this particular stretch of street needed to be empty for 3 hours on exactly 2 non-consecutive days per week? Marcus got in his car and drove to work in silence. No music, no podcasts, just the sound of his own breathing and the ticket sitting on his passenger seat like a small, expensive reminder that the world was designed by people who'd never had to navigate it. At his desk, he tried to focus. He had code to write, deadlines to meet, but his inbox had other plans. The health insurance company had denied his appeal. He'd need to file a secondary appeal, which required a letter from his doctor, which required an appointment, which required taking time off work, which required... He stopped reading and opened a new browser tab. Type, "How to contest parking ticket," into the search bar. The city's website loaded with the speed of continental drift. Required, completed form, available only by mail or in person. Payment of a $25 processing fee. Non-refundable even if the appeal succeeded. Appearance at a hearing scheduled during business hours at a courthouse 40 minutes away to contest his $75 ticket. He'd need to pay $25, take a half day off work, losing approximately $80 in wages. Drive 40 minutes each way, gas and parking. Another $15, and argue his case to someone who processed hundreds of these a week and had probably heard every excuse already. The math was simple. Fighting the system would cost more than the punishment. Marcus closed the laptop, stood up, walked to the break room, and poured coffee he didn't want. His hands were shaking slightly. Brad appeared beside him, dumping sugar into his mug. "You okay, man? You look stressed." "I'm fine." "You sure? You seem..." "I said I'm fine, Brad." The words came out harder than he'd intended. Brad blinked, stepped back slightly. "Okay, geez. Just asking." Marcus watched him leave, then looked down at the coffee in his hands. When had it become so hard to pretend everything was normal? When had the mask gotten so heavy? He went back to his desk and tried to work, but the code wouldn't come. Instead, he found himself making a list, not of tasks, but of absurdities. All the small, stupid, needlessly complicated things that had happened just that week. 3.5 hours on hold. 7 automated menus navigated, 4 forms downloaded that couldn't be filled out digitally and had to be printed, completed by hand, scanned and uploaded, 2 fees for paying bills. Convenience. Charges for the convenience of giving them money. 1 appointment that required 2 weeks' notice, but was only available during work hours. 5 passwords reset because the requirements kept changing. $147 in fees for not having enough money. He stared at the list. Each item alone was manageable, annoying but survivable. Together they represented hours of his life he'd never get back. Energy he didn't have to spare. A toll that was invisible to everyone who kept telling him to stay positive and keep pushing forward. What if he just stopped? The thought came quietly, seductively. What if he stopped playing by rules that were clearly designed to make him lose? What if he stopped being polite to systems that had no interest in being reasonable? Marcus saved his work, cleared his browser history out of habit, and sat very still. Outside his cubicle, the office life continued its mundane rhythm. Keyboards clicked, phone conversations blurred into white noise. Someone laughed at something on their screen. The world kept turning, indifferent to the fact that Marcus had just spent 90 minutes of his life arguing with a computer about whether he existed, only to lose anyway. He opened his drawer and looked at the parking ticket again. $75 for 13 minutes. Something in him shifted, not breaking. Not yet, but bending, creaking under pressure, testing how much more weight it could hold before the inevitable collapse. He picked up his phone and called the Parking Violations Bureau. When the automated system asked him to enter his citation number, he waited. "I'm sorry. I didn't receive your input. Please enter your citation number." Marcus waited. "I'm sorry. I'm having trouble understanding. Let me transfer you to a representative." A small smile crossed his face. It wasn't much, but it was something. The hold music began, and Marcus leaned back in his chair. That hard thing in his chest now spreading through his shoulders, down his arms, into his clenched fists. He had all day.